completely their business. It's none of my business. But in my house, it's my business.
Hmm. What do you
Hey,
think about that, I-Fi?
can you guys
Um,
hear me chewing this popcorn? Just a heads up, I want
Yeah,
because
yeah, no, we can hear you.
you can. All right, I'm gonna mute my mic.
smack. Sure. What you do behind your closed doors is your business, but you can still like share your standards and stuff with the rest of us. Is Chuck gone already? Oh,
Yeah, he saw you here and took the fuck
he's
off.
scared. He's scared.
All right, so getting back to it, I-Fi, are we living in capitalism, or do we have
Uh,
monopolies, or both? What do you think? And what can we
uh,
fucking do about it? What can you do about it? What do you
I think
do
it's.
about it?
I think socialism is slowly taking over. It's worse in other parts of the world, but it shouldn't be here. But it is. It's already here, and it's got its claws in us, and so it's just slowly scraping away layer by layer. That's where the monopolies are coming from. If the crony capitalists didn't have any government to collude with, then they wouldn't be able to form their giant monopolies. So, but they're
Right.
they're
So
colluding.
what do you do about it, right? You in Conservataria. What do you do in
Uh,
Conservataria?
I try to encourage people to like remember why we created this, libertarian capitalist paradise that we tried and failed the first round, and so we need to return back to our roots and try again, try harder.
Oh, you mean
Hmm.
Never Neverland with Peter Pan and Wendy and
No,
Tinkerbell and
America
Fairy
was
Dust?
close enough. It was America was like the shining light that showed the world that it was possible to have a libertarian government and the closest thing to capitalism this world has ever seen. And so all the other countries tried to like pretend like, oh yeah, we'll be like them. And so even like the British dabbled their toes in it and stuff, and they even had some pretty decent attempts. I don't know if you guys remember Hong Kong, but that was basically the free market, gift to the Chinese communist empire, and so unfortunately they just gobbled that shit right up. And so again, that's what happens. The authoritarian socialists always take over. That's the definition of socialism. It's to seize the means of production. So you,
Yeah, but if you didn't let them take over, they couldn't take over.
well, I wasn't in Hong Kong that day. I was busy
Yeah,
tending
and
my
whose
garden.
fucking fault is that?
Not me.
Well, actually, it is.
No, that was the Chinese people's fault because they didn't rise up against their commie overlords and see that was the way out.
Well, that's one way to cope about it. The other is that you didn't do your duty.
My duty is to educate you grunts that actually get out in the battlefield and get
What do you
shit
mean
done.
grunts? There's
You
only
and
one of us, maybe Chuck.
you and
I'm
and
not a
Green
grunt.
Cap over
You're
there.
not a grunt? All right, there's
I,
one of us, I-Fi.
I was electronics technician.
And my dad was in the Air Force, but I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover. So
Nerd. You guys are nerds.
That's gay.
but I
Nerds.
can inspire those who are willing to get out and punch some jaws. So you definitely should focus your attention like in our country. It's not too late for us, but it's just getting worse every day, and we're all just sitting on our asses doing nothing about it. So
Well, that's my point. That's why we're having this stream, I-Fi.
all right. Well, then here's the orders. Every time you see a dirty commie socialist, give them what for, and do it as peacefully as possible. Maybe just send them on a boat over to the nearest socialist country or something. But definitely don't entertain them and be like, oh yeah, let's all just get along. Oh, socialism feels good and it has good intentions, so let's try it out and see if it works. It's the same old tricks they've been doing.
Well, socialism or not, right? I mean, you mean laws supporting socialism, right?
I mean the slow but subtle corruption of capitalism. This is how they do it. They start with the illusion that you're in a capitalist system, and so then the cronies start colluding with the authoritarian government, and then it just becomes more and more socialist every day. And then one day you wake up and you're in Venezuela eating your pets because they start as capitalists. And then the key word you're looking for here, here's the magic moment. Whenever you hear the government say we're going to nationalize XYZ, resources like the oil companies or the banks or, big pharma, military, industrial complexes, whatever. Whenever you hear the word nationalize, that's the key word. That means the socialists are taking over, and either you start
What
the
about when
revolution
they
or die.
nationalized air traffic controllers?
Anything, Chuck, anything nationalized means the government is seizing that sector and they're turning it purely into government control, whether it's banking or oil or gold
Right,
or
through law, correct?
what?
So,
Through law.
so Fi, you said something earlier that kind of triggered my brain there.
Okay.
You got a good brain.
Yep.
Are you talking about the illusion of X or the illusion of Y?
Capitalism is the current illusion.
Right, but just the word illusion,
Yeah.
illusory.
Yes.
It's a very good apt name. You've heard of the scorpion and the frog, right?
Yep.
Okay, so
You knew
an illusionist casts illusions or creates illusions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So an illusionist is doing exactly what illusionist is set out to do. So whose fault is it for falling for the illusion? Is it the person that's being duped by the illusion? Like a scorpion does what a scorpion does,
Yep.
but is it the frog's fault for being gullible and falling for the
Yep.
illusion? Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
It's
It's both.
It's the
It's
frog's
both.
fault for sitting in the pan while they keep turning up the temperature 1 degree at a time. They're like, it's just 1 degree of socialism. It won't hurt your economy. Don't worry, bro.
yeah,
It's for the greater good. Don't you want to end poverty? Don't you want your grandma to have nice health care and shit like that? Just give us a little socialism. You can keep most of your capitalism. We're just going to take a little slice. And little slice by slice, that you'll just
It's
keep
called
yeah,
compromise, I-Fi.
exactly. That's the problem. As soon as you start compromising, they've already won. The only question is how long will it take them to completely take over? So obviously in America, if like tomorrow, Chairman Biden announced that the Communist Party of America is seizing all sectors of the economy, and did something like that, people would lose their shit. They'd be like, it's the communists are taking over, and everybody, scramble the jets and shit and stuff like that. But they're not that dumb. They're obviously going to say, no, guys, it's kind of like capitalism. You might be able to own your own little business, your little mom and pop store until the mega corporation takes it over. But today you feel like you're free, so that's good enough. And we're just going to take a little slice here and a little slice there. Meanwhile, the military-industrial complex, controls everything. Big pharma controls everything. The deep state controls everything.
Yes, you're right, I-Fi, but what do you do? I'm asking, what do you do to combat this?
You're not going to vote your way out, lad. I've already had this conversation.
Well, I know, and I'm not asking what you don't do. I'm asking what you do.
I would suggest peaceful resistance, but some people think that's tree hugging hippie talk, and so it depends.
All right, that was gay. Go on, GS.
yeah. You just got to grow your own food, man. Hunt your own
That's
meat.
part of it. No,
Can your own
right.
goods. Start your own secondary or even a tertiary economy, man.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Hold
What
on,
if
I'll raise you one, GS. Instead
Okay.
of just becoming your little hermit, fuck off to your bunker in the woods lifestyle like this Phi Emperor.
Well, hold on. That's a mischaracterization. That's a non sequitur.
I'm mischaracterizing myself, dude. I'm giving you a bone here.
He
All right,
objects.
so what we should do is not just form some loose network of, hey, we're all pals, let's send each other emails and shit like that. We should actually like band together. Are you guys familiar with like what's going on in New Hampshire?
Fed.
Are you
The
familiar
only
with the
free state? No.
Nice,
What's
not
going
infetti.
on?
What?
What's going on?
The Free State Project. So basically,
Yeah, New
they're
Hampshire.
trying to like get libertarians together, like on up to a state level over there,
Mhm.
which is way more progress than the Libertarian Party's doing. So if anything, even if you object to whatever, who's there and what they're trying to pull or whatever, at least they're trying. They're like putting real effort into it.
Okay, what's more
Mhm.
powerful? But hold on, Fi. What's more powerful, decentralization or centralization in regards to survivability? Like, so if you know all the people that have this ideology are going to be gathering in this state,
That's
now they're surrounded.
are they surrounded, or I mean, look at Pennsylvania, for example. Again, I hate bringing up the Amish, but they're so darn good at showing a good example of how to get shit done. Obviously, they're not gonna like replace any sort of like conservataria type government or whatever,
Mhm.
but at least they're doing something. They are independent and thriving on their communities growing, and they may eventually just start pushing out like all the blue tards and shit like that out of that state. So good
Right,
for
but
them.
so like I'm not crapping on your idea. It's a genuine question. I don't know that I have the answer. Decentralization when it comes to government, a libertarian would argue would be a good thing.
Yes, but
But
that's
then you want
that's
to,
the
but then you
problem,
want
GS.
to, but then you want to central.
That's the problem, GS. It's like a catch-22. It's like we
Right,
can't
okay,
we
okay.
can't unite because we're against unification. So we're always, going our own way, and we're on our little islands and shit, and we send each other emails like, "Hey, bro, you still fighting for freedom?" and stuff like that. That's why they always win. Authoritarians always clump together and absorb everything, even people who are just kind of like indifferent to them. And so that's why they have all the power and all the money and the
So
organizations.
so what I'm hearing you say is, why listen to me, because all of our ideas are crap and they fall apart on face.
No,
Yep.
I'm saying it's not easy. There's no easy solution to
Well, nothing's
conservatarian.
easy. Nothing was promised, and anything worth doing is worth doing well.
Okay, well then here's what I'm proposing. So take a note out of the Amish book, take a note
Okay,
out of the Free State Project book,
I'm
and
following.
listen to your Emperor Phi and get shit done. Start getting communities together. Start really organizing. Like I mean, like pick a location. Like I'm just gonna pick a random. I'm not. This isn't an actual offer, but I'm just saying this is an example.
This is an
Like
offer.
no.
It
Like
is.
let's pretend we all four of us agreed that we need to get shit done, and we're gonna start with Texas. We're all
I
gonna move to
disagree.
Texas, and we're all going to like move our businesses, family, communities, all that shit out there, and we're gonna get
Wake
all of our
up.
friends of our friends, all the people who are at least libertarian friendly, and we're gonna like go way above and beyond what the Free State Project's doing, way above and beyond what the Amish communities are doing, and actually start accumulating all of the libertarian capitalist Christians left in this country, and try to give like one last stand. It's like the Alamo or whatever, and either see if we're gonna make it or not. Because as long as we stay isolated and just kind of like sending emails to each other like keep up the good fight, bro,
Okay,
stuff like
so,
that.
but I mean, with respect, how is libertarianism seem any different than socialism? I mean, it just hasn't been applied the right way.
I'll
If we
tell you
do it this
exactly
time,
why.
it'll work.
I'll tell you exactly
Well,
what's
who
different about
applied
it.
it? GS.
I don't
Yeah.
think anyone has. I think it's just a theory.
Well, hold on. You said it hasn't been applied the right way, and I'm asking who
Well,
applied
what
it,
I'm
and then you
saying
said
is that's
nobody
his
did.
own. That's his own words. His own words is
N-
No,
um,
it has been applied the
it
right way.
fizzles out. It
America
fizzles
was
out. It fizzles out is what he said. Basically,
Yep.
that's what I
Yep.
heard him say. I mean,
Yep.
did you hear that, Chuck?
Yep.
Okay.
and,
I mean,
and,
I'm
and
not,
every,
I'm not, and I'm not crapping on it. I'm
GS
listening intently. I really
GS everything fizzles out. Christianity fizzles out.
am. Never bite your tongue. Repent.
Capitalism fizzles out.
Repent.
Libertarian fizzles out. It's the humans that are the problem. They'll fuck up anything. Even if you give them the best system, they will fuck it up somehow. So that's why it's your job and your duty to maintain your community and standards.
It is an issue
Well,
when you're simultaneously the problem and the solution, right? I mean, as people, I would agree with that.
you're
Well,
under the Constitution. That will never change in the near future.
Chuck,
So
no one in our
therefore, you
government
have.
gives a shit about the Constitution at all.
That's the only
That's-
way you
that's
can
true.
change it. Then
So
No,
Liberty
it's
Troll is
not, Chuck. You won't vote your way out of this. You won't get lawyers to the Supreme
did I
Court
say
and say,
vote? I didn't say vote.
okay, are you going to get lawyers to
Pressure.
the Supreme Court and say, this isn't in our Constitution, crooked politicians, change your ways? Is
If
that
you're
what
right, you can.
Good luck, Chuck. Good luck with that.
So
Um,
this John Calvin's Geneva, is that have to do with the Geneva Convention, or is it talk about Calvinism? Is it because
And
one of my
hold on.
said that it
Welcome,
was
Mad Hatter.
who dat? That's
What's
nobody I'm familiar with.
what's up, dude?
Yeah, you know who I am.
Who does?
Oh, is that Brick?
That's what's up, bro. Yeah, that's me.
Brick
Okay.
petitions.
Gotcha.
Brick.
What's up, Brick? Bricky from my channel. Okay, Roger.
Yeah, no, I figured I'd hop on up and say hello. You know, I know you guys are talking about solutions and stuff, and I know that I've mentioned a few things here in GS's channel. I've come over from another community, the 1A community, from that community over to GS. I kind of like to spend time with GS. It kind of brings me onto the, the down level, because GS's channel is kind of a mellow out from all of that stuff. The 1A community is kind of, it's up in the air, because with beliefs and speech and all that, everybody can believe what they want to believe. They can say what they want to say. But as far as solutions go, the things that you guys are talking about, one of the things that I have posed as a solution is making your petitions known, right? And so one of the elements of the First Amendment is that we have the right to petition a government for a redress of grievances. And I wanted to bring it up because a lot of people are saying, what can we do? What can we do? Is it capitalism? Is it monopolies? Is it socialism? What is it? Well, the Constitution, right? There's a lot of problems with certain amendments, certain supposed powers and rights, but the petitions part, right? That's kind of a part that, because it's there, it's going to be difficult for them to take it away at this point, because that's just one of those things that just is. It's a right because it is. It's not something they can possibly even take it away from us. It's an unalienable right. Unalienable right according to the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence is the foundation, and when you look in there, you'll find that it talks about unalienable rights given to us from nature's God, right? And so that natural law that exists, unalienable rights that we have, we know our rights. Even the babe in the wood knows his rights. That's why he cries out for his mother's teeth, so to speak. But as far as solutions go, that's what I say. Make your petitions known. If it's something that you feel needs to be adjusted, you can go there. But, even if you can't go there, you can't go to the building, you can always make a call. You have the technology. We have the internet. We have our phones. Making a phone call is not going to hurt anything. I'm just posing it as a solution.
Yeah, I like where your head's at on that to an extent. However, at the end of the day, the Declaration of Independence is a piece of paper that's only backed by the amount of violence that a peoples are willing to exert in order to maintain it. And I think that step one is making your petition known. I've said this before, and kind of maybe to what Oracle is talking about here in a sense is, can you imagine if, like, I don't know, every small council meeting in every small town, there's like 30 like veterans, like in shape, bright eyed, ready to roll veterans that show up and just sit there. They don't even have to say a word.
I didn't say nothing.
And so at some point in time, the people that are in charge, a quiet man is a lot scarier than a dog that barks a lot that probably ain't never going to bite. So, but to your point, I think that there needs to be a presence. There needs to be this sense of, we're watching you as you do your job, and we're here. We're the watchdogs. We're on the watchtower. We're guarding the gate so the barbarians don't come through it. Your thoughts on that, Fi?
I wish that were true, GS. I used to think that way. I used to think that there would be kind of like a subtle but effective way to kind of like, start moving the needle.
Is it a good start though, or?
I wish that were true. I wish that were true. So
hold on. So you say I wish that was true. Has it happened?
Even if it did happen, have you recorded as you described?
Right. But have you recorded a consistent week in, week out, month, or maybe a year long to see if it does? I mean, what's your reason, evidence, and data? What's your empirical data that it has been tried and has not been successful, other than where we are right now in America? I think that's pretty good data, but I don't know that it's been tried the way that I've described it.
I encourage you to try. I just would be
But
ready
let's
for
see.
plan
Hold
B.
up. You said I encourage you to try.
Yeah.
Well, my plan encourages us all to try.
Right. And so in response to that, GS and Fi, so it's interesting that you mentioned that, GS, that hasn't been tried. And I can tell you that, yes. So what I've been doing over the course of the past 6 months to a year, and this is just on a personal basis, and I'm probably going to release it at some point.
Okay.
I actually make calls, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't just say this and say, okay, go do this. So I've been doing it, right? I've actually been making calls. I've been making my petitions known. Because you've got the 1A community, the guys, they go out there and film. They make cop watches. They do audits. You see them regularly, right? Now, obviously, the man, they don't like it, but they're there. When we see something, we should say something. I've made many calls, and with the records that I've produced, I can quite honestly say that many of them do not care. Now, there are some people in those positions of power that do, but it's very little.
Britt, can I agree with you, but add to when we see something, we should do something, not just say something. I think we should saying something is the first start. It should be a clarion call, a rallying call, a trumpet blaring, and I think we should do something. But I guess saying something is an action as well. Yeah, go ahead.
GS, I was about to ask you. Do you think? Do you remember the Tea Party movement?
Yeah, and the government made an example out of them.
Do you feel like they were doing something instead of just saying stuff?
Yeah, and then the arm of the government decided to try to stomp on them and audit them into oblivion. It's the process that's the punishment, not necessarily the actual. It's the ride, right?
Do you feel like all the conventions and stuff that the LP has? Do you feel like they're doing stuff as opposed to just saying stuff? Or
who's LP?
Libertarian Party, the national.
Oh, I have a great amount of ignorance when it comes to the Libertarian Party, other than what I think their platform is a theory, not an actual a form of statism.
Do you remember Ron Paul?
No, Ron Paul is pretty awesome. He's super based. He's got my respect. But
you seen how far he made it?
And he got 3% of the vote. Like, again, you're not going to vote your way out of this. Is my point.
Well, that's why I'm saying you have to behave your way out of it.
Right.
I think you have to Amish Free State Project your way out of it. That's what I'm saying. That's what I would do.
I think we're more in agreement with that than I think we realize. I think we're saying the same thing, but kind of talking about. Yeah, I mean, the Amish, they take care of themselves. They try to be off the grid as much as I see what you're saying now.
They're basically slowly forming their own little country, which obviously at some point the feds are not going to have any part. They're not going to let them do that. But right. I think that's the natural conversation that we should have as far as all citizens in this country.
But you have to think to yourself a little bit, though, like, the government allows them to do that until it becomes a problem for the government, in which case they would probably stomp a mud hole in them. So at the end of the day, and that kind of goes to what Brick was saying, you were talking about inalienable rights. I agree with you on the spirit of it, and I think the danger in it is that we can sit back and rest on the laurels of my rights, though, and then when somebody's hitting you with a nightstick telling you to stop resisting the blows to your head, the whole thing goes out the window, and then you're trying to get due process if you survive the ride. And it's not to say that all cops are bad, and I don't want to malign all cops, but the point I'm trying to make is it's about power. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. My question is, if the libertarians were to get in charge, what would make their rule and their reign any different than any other rule or reign that's ever happened in history?
I think if any of the current candidates made it through, they would just become like Republican lights or something. It wouldn't really be any major changes. It would just be little things like, oh, hey, we reduced your tax rate to 30% instead of 34%, and then they'd be like, yay, we're making progress. And so I don't
I guess
think anything
let,
major
let
would
me let
change.
me let me reform and re-ask my question if I may. So like, say you have your druthers. Let's say the Democrats and the Republicans are scrapping for 6% of the overall vote. The Libertarians are the cat's meow. They're the kitty that got the cream. They win, and then they start reigning like straight for like 10 elections in a row, like 10, 40 years. What what do you think the odds are that there would be some level of corruption that would sink in, and what would the guardrails be to try to prevent that from a libertarian point of view, and how do you stop power from corrupting and absolute power corrupting absolute? Any thoughts on that? I mean, this is just a hypothetical, like say the worst happens.
This is why I constantly harp on the deep state. I'm not saying this like some
Okay.
crazy
Okay.
like conspiracy theory. I'm saying like it's so publicly widely known at this point. It's not like theory
Mhm.
anymore. Everybody already knows it. And so, good luck dismantling all the arms of that
Well,
machine.
well, well. Hold on, I-Fi. Not
Yeah.
that I disagree with your words, but when you say good luck dismantling, really what we're saying, I mean, I think we are saying, is good luck disassociating those people from their ego investments that all these years they've been voting, they've been, ride or die for particular political candidates. They've been wasting their fucking time, their energy, their money.
Not to mention all the shareholders and their families and all that stuff. I mean, dude, it's so deeply ingrained into the system. It's not something you can just like, repeal a policy and that will magically fix it. It's like the whole system has been completely co-opted. So that's what I'm saying.
I agree.
That I look at it at this point where I don't even try to attempt to fix it from within the system. Like some people like Rand Paul, for example, if you asked him, he thinks that we can just, little by little start pushing the Titanic back up to the surface and, like start rebuilding it in the middle of the ocean. But that's obviously so delusional and so far gone at this point. Again, he preaches to empty rooms in Congress, which shows
I
you
have
how
a,
effective his message is.
I have a question to that fight. So
Yeah,
you believe it's possible?
believe
About
what
the
is
about the
possible.
Titanic.
Yeah, to push back the Titanic.
No. At this point, I'm proposing we have that ship is gone. We're way
Um,
past that point. We're
It's
talking about
FUBAR.
building a brand new ship on this island we're on, the shipwrecked island we're on, and
well,
so that's a
here,
whole different animal.
here's the question: what is the Titanic? What is the
The
Titanic?
original experiment of the United States of America. It
Okay,
was
so
it was
I have.
theoretically a libertarian capitalist country that was on its way to becoming, still the greatest nation in all of human history. Right now, we're just riding on the fumes of those foundations. There's
I
no,
So
agree. You're
there's
my
right.
nothing
proposal.
we're even kind of maintaining at the point. Like I said, the Titanic sunk. It's at the bottom of the ocean, and everyone's arguing about like which half of the boat to scrounge for parts or whatever. That's all that's happening.
Regardless, we live in the best country there is in the world.
Right now, Chuck, again, do you understand running on fumes? When you're in a truck and you run out of gas, Chuck, you can still run on fumes for like another mile or two. The engine's like coughing and spurting, like, and then you eventually just shut down completely. We are in the
So
fume stage now, Chuck. We're not continuing anything for another good long run. We're
what 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 is the ad hominem, the Titanic, or the that? What is that referring to? As
the,
far as
the original United States of America that everyone thinks is still the
okay,
greatest nation in the world, and it's still free market capitalism and still libertarian government.
that right there, that original experiment, that is founded on something. Okay, what is the original foundation?
Christian morals.
No, that's not the original foundation. The original foundation is the Declaration of Independence.
That's just a silly little government document that some people took seriously, some people didn't. It had some really good ideas. It has been amended into oblivion, dude. There's so many amendments to it that
They could not agree on a Christian foundation at the very start.
it was by Christians for Christians, mainly of Christians.
Well,
Well,
explain that. It's found.
The only reason why they didn't put it into the founding documents is because we were specifically separating church from state. That's the only reason why it's not called a Christian nation.
because they couldn't agree on it.
Not
They-
the declaration.
They all agreed that Christianity was the best religion. They just didn't enforce it by law. They were saying that we're not going to use the government like all the previous governments we came from that forced it by law.
Independence. I'm sorry.
Catholicism, yep.
Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence talks about natural law, nature's law, not some Christian foundation that it's talking about. It's not. It's nature.
Who created nature?
It just is. Nature is a reference to what just is. It's reality. That's why they call it mens rea in the legal language. Reality. It's based upon reality. Now we can go back and forth on the adage of what words mean, but reality is the foundation. Natural law, like the babe in the woods crying out for his mother's teeth. That's why it references that. Even he knows his own rights. He has the right to cry out for his mother's teeth because he is hungry, which is also his right to be fed. That's natural law.
And this is why we can't get shit done, because we're too busy arguing about the foundations of this country, what built this country. And so obviously we have moral foundations, and the two most important pillars were capitalism and libertarian governments. We have abandoned all three. We are no longer a Christian nation. We are no longer capitalists, and we are no longer libertarians. That's why everything is fucked. Everything is completely fucked.
If you're saying we are not getting it done, I'm not part of that. When I say we are getting it done, I'm part of a different group.
Okay, and what is your group doing to change the politics and culture of America?
Well, first and foremost, as an individual, I make calls. I can't just go drive down the road because they're after me. Tyrannical policies, protocols, and procedures. But what I can do is I can make a few calls and talk to people who are on the other end and educate them, tell them about this massive, quote unquote, Leviathan that people are out of control for. It's the tyrants. They're doing whatever they want to do. So the people on the low end, right? They cannot make the changes if they are not educated as to what's going on.
And,
So
and what are you hoping to do with your calls? What are you hoping to achieve by calling people?
Well, there's a few different things that you could achieve. One, first and foremost, is you could educate people. At least, if nothing else, about the wordage, right? The reality, nature's law, right? That they are too sucked in. This is why, like with anger, right? Anger comes from a place of envy. I don't envy, right? So I'd rather them to be educated and to know what they're part of. They are part of the Death Star. That's what they're part of, right? So if they know that they're part of that, then maybe they step back. Or maybe because they're part of it, they could make some policy changes, right? That's why going to your local city meeting, your local county meeting, or if you go to the legislature and speak out about it, you get these senators or these congressmen to feel something. They will never feel a stinking thing if you don't talk to them. The police, when you talk to them respectfully. I'm not saying fuck their boots. Don't. Please, do not fuck their boots. But talking to them respectfully will have them feeling like this country means something.
Okay, so here's my 2 cents. I again, just like I said to GS, I encourage you to do everything within your power and your ability to do whatever change you think is effective. And I am offering you a real world place to focus these efforts. And so that's my point.
All right.
Yeah.
If I may, I don't want to jump in over anyone's toes, but there's a couple things I was letting the chickens in, walking the dogs out there listening. couple things that really keyed in my mind. You said that there was a separation of church and state, and maybe I've got this wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the separation of church and state was meant to be to keep the state from dictating what the religion had to be.
Correct.
Not that religion couldn't be in the state. Now Fi made a very salient point about the foundation, but you said something that really bothered me. We need to stop focusing on the foundation or the founders of this country, and I think that's precisely the opposite. If your foundation is weak and crumbling, you need to jack the house up, fix your foundation, and then put it back down on a solid foundation. Otherwise, if you're just building on top of a crumbling, you're doing a Jenga, is what you're doing.
That's what they're doing. They're trying to keep the.
But hold on. I think it was you. I'm almost positive it was you that said that we're too focused on our foundation and we're not that anymore. So
I said the opposite.
right? No, I think you did towards the end of it. I think you reiterated it, but somebody said something about we're focusing too much on the foundation, and I think not focus on the foundation.
I was arguing with this dude about what our foundation was. First of all, I believe our foundation was Christianity, capitalism, and libertarian governments. I think he was disagreeing with me with that. That's what it was originally, and so I'm pretty sure that's what it was originally, and I'm pretty sure that that's the main problem. If we could get back to that, you and I wouldn't be having this debate right now. Everything would be fine. I'd be like, pip pip cheerio. But the problem is we are not a Christian nation. We do not have capitalism anymore, and our libertarian government is gone. It's dust. It's been completely overhauled into an authoritarian regime. And so the only capitalism we have left are the crony capitalists who are colluding with the authoritarian government. That's the only form of capitalism left, and it's just socialism at its core. It's just
so here's the issue that I have. We got our nuts in a vice right now.
Oh yeah.
And due to the fact that lobbyists, and we'll go back to what Base was trying to pull out of me, a big problem with what's going on right now is lobbyists.
I always pull out, always.
He's trying to get that word, that I used before that he thought was brilliant, and he wanted me to say it again because he likes the way it sounds because I have a sexy voice.
That could
but
be.
That said, so the interesting thing is we're in the situation that we're in because we've kind of fallen asleep at the wheel, and
someone took over the wheel.
And the manufacturing is the key. We have to make things in America again, even if it's just our own food for now. Even if it's our own community's food for now, even if it's, taking back raw milk, and all these other things, it's like the most healthy things for us are being outlawed constantly. And I think Based is really deep into the whole seed oil thing, and he understands about the chemicals and stuff. He's pretty much into the nutrition aspect of things. Probably could answer it way better than I could, and I know that's not what this is about, but I think it is not what it's about though. If you poison our minds, you poison our bodies, you weaken us as a people, you can then necessitate the soft coup, the soft takeover, and I think that's what's happening.
You got one out of two of the pillars, and so now we need the foundation and the other pillar, and then we'll be in good shape.
Okay.
So that's what I keep reharping on. It's not one thing that will win us the war.
But it's not one thing that won't get us in the right direction.
That's a good start, GS.
Yeah.
You return capitalism, I'll return the libertarian government, and then we'll get back.
I think Christianity is the beginning and the end of it all, right there. I mean, I think if we return reverence and seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these other things will be added onto us. We're trying to have our squirt boy stuff. And then maybe if we're happy about it, then maybe we might say, "Hey, thank you, God. I just want to give props to God up there." And no one blames God when they lose the Super Bowl, do they?
Yeah, exactly. He always makes their team win. By the way, every time I give the elevator pitch of Conservataria, I always put them in priority order. First, you need a Christian nation. Second, you need a capitalist economy. Third, you need a libertarian government. So obviously, you should do them in that order.
So can we talk about the elephant in the room? Because this is actually a topic I'd really love to talk about. No, put that back up. This is
Snake
exactly
Man.
what I want to talk about.
Snake Man.
Keep scrolling through them because this is what I didn't want to steal your. I didn't want to steal your topic, dude. I've been biting at the bit to talk about this. You got Andrew, who seems to be supporting a guy who's deep into degeneracy, who won't disavow another guy who's deep into degeneracy, Zerko, which is how this all started. Now, does he have to disavow anyone? I don't know.
No, nobody has to do anything.
But can you be shamed or judged by what you choose to do or choose not to do? I think I can.
Well,
I have been.
I'm not
numerous
quite a Pharisee, but the Pharaoh, as he has been, self-proclaimed, he said that we should shame and hold accountable when necessary our friends, which I agree with.
But like our Christian friends or our friends in general?
He just said friends. I didn't hear Christian.
Okay.
I gotta eat a sandwich. I'll listen, but I'll BRB. I can't respond.
What
Okay,
kind
fine.
of sandwich? All right, go on.
Sandwich.
Meatball.
So,
Ooh,
okay.
nice. That's a good panini sandwich.
So, what was your question again, GS?
I don't know that it was so much more of a question than it was more of a statement. And so there's so much levels of inception. No, there are levels of deception that I'm kind of getting here.
What's up, Sarah?
Go ahead, Sarah.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm just stepping in, so I have no idea what you've been talking about.
Oh, okay.
All right,
I'll
cool.
continue my thought
We
then.
were deep in the Monopoly talk, but GS on a tangent. Go on, GS.
Yeah, I can't imagine what popped that into my head.
I don't know.
So, I mean, in this situation where you have a situation where and I'll say this, I was a bit of a fanboy of Andrew Wilson. I'm not saying that I'm not still impressed with his body of work. However, I've got questions now where I didn't used to have questions, and he doesn't necessarily owe me an answer. But I don't know how you can talk out of both sides of your mouth and claim that you're against degeneracy and taking no prisoners whatsoever, yet you kind of go slack when it comes to someone you should be holding even more accountable, especially a guy that has been labeled a producer and a pastor producer. So as a Christian, I am expecting my fellow brothers and sisters in Christ to correct me and sharpen me when I step on my toes or I step on my you-know-what. And I've done that a lot in the last month, and I went on a bit of an apology tour, and I'm seeking to do better. That said, where's the accountability? That's my question. Where's the consistency? Where's the accountability? Where's the truth? How does it logically follow?
That's the point, GS. That's the point of this stream, is telling the truth.
I agree.
Right? So I'm not saying anyone has the absolute objective truth, but if you know that, I'm on here with you and I'm saying some lies, right, you're going to correct it, I would hope.
If I knew they were lies, I absolutely would.
I'm under the same belief that GS was just talking about as far as the other individual. However, when I went over to the channel a few times, I got highly turned off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because what I saw was
Degeneracy.
what your debate was about the other night, Oracle.
Yeah.
You know, a little lie. Everybody's doing it, so why can't I think?
Right.
You know, and it's the same, everybody's doing debauchery, so why can't I? And
Squirt boy stuff.
yeah, I just found that to be against, because I'm not a religion.
Yeah.
I read the Bible and I believe in spiritual concepts.
I think we're about the same, you and I, Chuck. We've talked about this. I think we're on the same plane. Yeah.
Having had a spiritual experience or two myself, I realize there's something greater than me out there. But I can't play both sides of the street and claim to be, I can't claim to be a God-fearing or God-believing person and yet dabble in the debauchery, the seven deadly sins, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Chuck, but we're not even talking about you can't do it. I mean, you're saying that, and I agree with you.
Just
You
don't
shouldn't
I'm talking
do
about
that.
personal.
But we're talking
personal.
about no. I get it, but we're talking about, or I'm talking about promoting
it. Yeah.
right, which is a distinction, meaning that there's a multiplier effect. You're affecting multiple different people, lying to them, and you can say, well, they should figure it out. Accountability.
I posed a question to individuals.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know because of this conflict you two got into.
Yeah.
And I said, tell me about this OnlyFans things. And I was told, well, it's behind the paywall, so it don't count.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute.
What does the Bible? Yeah, what does the Bible say about all things conceived in the darkness will be brought out in the light, and all the secret things that you think?
So that's where I have trouble. I was like,
what did
whoa,
I miss
wait
in
a
like
minute.
the last 5 minutes?
So you therefore
I came
are
in to make fun of
promoting.
libertarians. I got here and I don't even know what this is.
It's whatever you want it to be.
This
Go
is
ahead.
the
I'll
monopoly. No. This is the
no, I'm not saying you
monopoly
can't.
topic.
It's a space show. I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, I think it does. It does tie in. Nacho, welcome to the show. But I think it does kind of tie into the fact that because of debauchery, we've gone so far afield of what our roots were as a country that we find ourselves precisely in the field we are sitting in today. So, I mean, there used to be a time that men would plant trees whose shade they would never enjoy, knowing that they were doing it for future generations. And now everyone's like, I got to get mines. You know, I'm squirt boy. I gotta get my squirts in. It's got to feel good. I mean, that sounds a little bit like do as thou wilt. You know, do whatever makes you feel good, and that's a choice. I'm not sitting here and listen. And I've done debauchery.
Not even
in the
knowing
last
the
month.
full backstory, then, because I don't even know what this whole backstory is.
It's about integrity. So if somebody says,
let's just say though, but you just said like, you know, the people that built the country, you know, planted trees that they would never enjoy the fruits of, right? So couldn't we argue? Which again, I don't know what this is even about, so I don't know what the full context.
No, I
is,
said
couldn't you argue that
men used to
Andrew and other people,
fathers.
Sure, but Andrew and other people like that who get criticized a lot because they're Christian and then they're around all these other individuals.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're pushing the culture towards Christianity, they may not be alive to see the end result of that. But in the meantime, taking any little inch towards that direction is probably better than nothing.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, Nacho. So, for instance, right, Andrew going on Fresh and Fit could bring some Fresh and Fit viewers over to the Crucible, right?
It has. It's brought tons.
I believe you. Now, it could also bring Crucible members over to Fresh and Fit.
Sure, but we can see a clear indication of growth in the Crucible direction, and then even further into the Orthodox Discord, more so than we can see anything moving towards Fresh and Fit. Fresh and Fit's channel's been kind of like plateaued or like on the decline for a while now.
So what's that?
Mostly because of the demonetization.
What's the word? It's called nepotism when you do something for your family or your friends that you hold a standard to other people, but to your friends and your family you make exceptions. Is it nepotism or am I getting it wrong?
That's the right word.
Okay, so what is integrity and character? Character is what you do when you don't think anyone else can see that you're doing it, but integrity is what you do when everyone can see what you're doing, and they should be able to judge rightly or wrongly. That you're judged by your fruit, right? A good tree can't bring forth bad fruit, and a bad tree can't bring forth good fruit.
So what happened then? Because
degeneracy happened.
Talk about this,
and promoting degeneracy, like for instance, this whole thing started out. Actually, Base, do you want to?
No, I just wanted to make fun of libertarians.
Do you want to explain it? No. Okay. So
I'd like to speak a little bit on that. With principles, whether it's morality or ethics, this is just my viewpoint of it. And I do see fire being thrown on both sides. And this is not just in this portion. YT, this is not just in this portion of the internet. This is not just on the internet. It happens everywhere. Personally, I believe that, and this is me, that you should do what is good for building up not tearing down. That's just
Hey guys, sorry I stepped away. So Nacho, by the way, based in GS, I didn't want to derail the pivot to back to our standards and morals, but which
Sure.
I'm sure Nacho will have plenty to say about. But
I'm flexible. I'm flexible.
he wants to make fun of libertarians, so
Yeah.
I'm your Huckleberry, Nacho. What's your
Yeah.
problem? What's your problem with libertarianism?
I don't know who it was, but I was just listening. I was like working out and listening, and then somebody was just kept saying basically not to vote or that you can't vote your way out. I heard that like
That
I
was
don't
me.
know how many
That was
times.
me.
Yeah.
That
Okay,
was
so-
him, but I agree.
So Nacho, are you familiar with the deep state and the uniparty they're currently selling you?
Sure.
Are you familiar with those words?
Sure, yeah. I'm familiar
Okay.
with all of that.
So which vote do you think will get us out of the deep state? Do you think?
Your local, your state level.
Okay, so
Influence
like
your
my
state.
local
Forget about the federal.
Republic-
The federal government is bunk.
my local
Yeah.
Republican mayor, my local Democrat governor, my local
Yeah, get in there
Democrat
and do something.
judicial.
The majority of the people that I hear saying this are always like the socialists or the communists or like the ANCAP Fantasyland libertarians that are like, you know that your position has less tenability than socialists and communists.
Which
They,
part of
they
my
have they have a better like I would support communism and socialism before I would libertarianism.
I know you would.
Just
That's
simply
why
simply
you're part
because
of the
it's
problem.
actually been installed and tried before. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
You guys run around and you like preach from the hilltops about not voting and down with the state and Ancapistan and not doing
Okay,
anything.
so
But
what you're saying.
your system
ahead.
has never even been tried. Once.
Okay,
It's not even been
okay,
installed.
So there's two parts to my system. The two pillars are capitalism and small government. So neither one of those have been tried in human history.
So then why are you not preaching to be involved at the local level, at the state level?
I'm saying that if you're a part, let's say like you and I were inside of a gulag in China, because we were preaching, this liberty bullshit or whatever, and free market capitalism. Do you think we could like go vote and get our way out of the gulag and be like, come on, comrades, my
But
vote matters?
So you think that the state of the United States currently is gulag?
I think the United
Pretty
States
close.
has gotten so far away from its roots of Christian
I would agree with that.
capitalist libertarianism
I don't
that-
disagree with that.
that people like you can't even use your imagination and crack open a history book and see if that's where our country originally started from.
I have cracked open a history book. I have
Okay,
seen all of that.
okay,
That's why I'm involved. That's why I'm not just sitting on my hands and
Okay,
crying.
Nacho,
It's just as shitty a position as the QAnoners. Just
Nacho-
wait. Just
Nacho-
hold. Something will
Nacho-
happen.
Nacho
Q will
T,
save us.
Nacho, just so we're on the same page, the original country when it started, when our founding fathers started this whole shebang, was it an authoritarian government or a libertarian government that they formed?
When they started the country, it was
Yeah.
a libertarian
United
government.
States of America. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well,
Okay.
hold on.
It was a
because-
state. It wasn't even like a. It was a
Hold
government for the sake of fighting a
Hold-
war, and then it was
hold
supposed
on.
to go back to states.
Well, hold on. Let's get the record a little bit straight. They tried to make it into an authoritarian government by their own will. They wanted George Washington to continue to basically become a king.
Yeah,
And
they wanted
and
him
the
to become the first king.
So
And slavery aside, the Confederates actually tried to fight the federal government that the North was forming, and that was one of the objections they had during the war. But obviously, everyone only remembers the slavery part. But
So-
I would argue that we should have had a separate war about a centralized federal government, which we are under now, versus the original libertarian small local
federal
governments.
was formed in 1788 with the Supremacy Clause, the Federalist Papers.
Right.
By the way,
so-
just for anyone listening, I did not just defend slavery. I'm not saying we should bring back slavery. I'm
stop,
saying
dude.
I just heard you were a big Confederate supporter. That's what I heard.
yeah, right. So that was
The
one
war
of
of
the
northern aggression. The war of
That was-
northern aggression. Say it
that
right.
was one of the reasons they were fighting Nacho. One of the reasons.
I'm
was,
just teasing.
So
know-
I
I've
got a
read lot
question
about this
for
before.
Nacho, right? You said you're involved to some degree at the voting level, right?
Yep.
Local. Now, what about the accountability level? Have you, for instance, dragged any sitting senators out of their fucking seat to charge them with, I don't know.
We're working on, at the very least, getting Lindsey Graham primaried, but we have to find somebody to replace him. So
right, but along with Lindsey Graham, there's 200 plus more that should be charged with treason.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Those are a lot more difficult to go after. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but to everyone that runs around, the majority of the people that run around saying like, "Oh, you're not going to get it. You can't. Voting is useless," and blah blah blah. They've never even tried at the local level. They've never been involved at the local level in any sense to see how effective and how quick you can see changes in your city, in your township, in your state. Versus if it's because everybody's the media especially is involved in turning this upside down and making it appear as though it's a top down, sort of deal. I mean, yes, there's definitely a deep state and there's a lot of shit going on there.
Well, when you say
they want it to be a top down, but the structure is still not compromised yet.
Okay, well, that's your thought. I think it is very compromised. But with that said, when you say that people haven't given it the chance to see the change, could anyone try voting tomorrow or in primaries, September, whatever, and see a change? How would they know if it was a change versus them voting
township?
Or not?
Absolutely.
I'm asking how
your town level and your city level,
see?
because your mayors and your sheriffs and your local level government can make sweeping changes, to your city overnight.
I hear you.
They have way more influence over your day-to-day life than anybody in Congress or the Senate or the president. I mean, they do impact you, but all of those changes take so long to take effect. So it's a lot more slow moving, at the federal level. Not that you shouldn't focus on that, but I'm just saying.
But to Nacho's point, Nacho's on to something interesting here, because I don't know if you guys listen to Tim Pool or not, but I find Tim Pool to be fascinating with his. So, like, DeSantis had an opportunity. If Trump decided to not go to New York in order to surrender himself and stayed in Florida, DeSantis could have basically said, "We don't recognize your extradition. You're going to have to come take them by force," and then surrounded them, federalism, basically, right? The Federalists, like states' rights. And I mean, it would have really kind of put some feet to the fire and really shown people
done that.
Yeah, to really shown what was really going on behind the curtain. But and that's a fascinating premise, because DeSantis could have been like a hero technically.
Yeah,
to Trump.
Yeah, and if you have a strong enough state, you can definitely convince other states to fall in line with you.
Right.
Yeah,
so
what is a strong state?
What's that?
Back to 2016.
What was that?
Everybody, go back to 2016. Everybody, everybody laughed at Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But he had the charisma and the drive, and look what he pulled off.
So
I'm not necessarily trying to make this about Trump or Biden.
No,
or
me
like
either. Me either. I'm just talking about a person of strong charisma.
And I don't have a problem talking about Trump or Biden. I just, out of respect for the host's channel, I'm not sure what he wants to get into on that aspect.
I don't give a fuck. But the topic you already know, which comes back to monopolies, which does include even president. I'm not saying to the highest degree, but to
States,
some degree.
Governors.
Sure.
Yeah,
so what did you mean? Was it Nacho? I think when you said strong states, what is a strong state?
Like a state that would be aligned from top to bottom, like from each of its separate, townships and cities, and counties, up to the Congress and the Senate. The whole state is basically on the same page, and they're able to make, big swings whenever they need to. In Congress or wherever.
Do you have an example of that state? Like, what would be a strong state?
I mean, you have to go back in history when the states were. It's probably before we had cell phones and all this other mass communication that helps divide up the people at the local level.
Well, I agree with you. Now, so you're saying there's no strong states as per that now, but there used to.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I haven't dug enough into other states and how, organized or
I got you.
You know what I mean?
Can
I don't know what
you
the
think
reddest state is or the bluest state is.
So
maybe
if
California
you go back,
or New York City maybe would be one that's close.
New York City basically
in a
is
democratic
state.
way.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I see what you mean. All right, so like maybe in a negative way, as we would look at it, California.
Yeah, negatively, we view it negatively because we're
But
at
California's a
least
hella
right, center
strong
right,
state.
far right, whatever. But
It's got like a bigger economy than most countries out there in the world. Right?
The only reason I wouldn't-
we need California desperately, man.
the only reason I wouldn't fully say California is just because all the farming and all the infrastructure and everything that they have in California, they're all pretty right leaning. You know what I mean? They're pretty much Republicans everywhere else except for the major cities. But
Right.
And
but
what up, Rocky? Rocky just hopped in.
Hey, Rocky.
I can't believe y'all think California is still on the table.
It has to be, dude. It's the
Have
bread.
you ever been to
Could be.
California?
Like
Have any of
Ukraine is
y'all
the-
been
What-
to California? Like live there?
You're missing the
Yes,
point.
I did. About
they would
4
basically
years.
have to form like a new state. Like half of
Yeah,
the
they would.
state would have to separate.
They would have to deport like 60% of the population to bring it back to America. But Nacho, earlier, I think you were in here before. You weren't in here when I brought it up earlier. Do you have any thoughts on New Hampshire? Do you think they're making any significant progress?
I heard you say that, and then I started to look it up, but no, I haven't heard anything about that yet.
Why doesn't anyone know about the Free State Project? It seems like that would be.
I know about it, dude. I've heard about it
Probably
like
because it's
probably
effective.
about 8 years ago.
Because it's a
It
what?
started around.
I
It
said
started
probably
around 8
because
years
it's
ago, didn't
effective if you're talking about it in that sense.
it? Yeah.
No, but I'm saying like all these people who
Porcupine.
talk about these theoretical, like communities that are fighting back against these, authoritarian regimes. Like, isn't that not the most?
So
relevant
I haven't heard
I'm
of
focused
it.
the most on
Enlighten
my
us.
state. You know what
No,
I
I mean I heard about it 8 years ago. I mean, and I'm fighting back against your point of view too. I still think you're Peter Pan, Never Never Land when you're a libertarian, dude.
I'll link everyone a video I just recently watched. Here's your homework for
I'll watch it.
tonight. So, since y'all are so interested in it, not only was it brought up recently, it was brought up in a debate with other libertarians in the room, including the Libertarian Party versus a Free State member. And so that might be a good place for you guys to start. But I'll get you a link. I'll be right back.
Let me hop to Sarah. Sarah, you got any thoughts on this?
Oh, I was looking at the Free State Project thing just to kind of catch up on what the fuck that even means.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, apparently it was founded in 2001. I've never heard of it.
Wow, way
Damn.
more than 8 years ago. Then
That was Twin Towers timing.
Yeah, September 1st.
I've heard of
2001.
it. New Hampshire
Okay.
Free State Project, something about porcupine.
So now I'm wondering what the relevance of
It's-
iFi bringing this up was.
It's in
Yeah, I know.
it's in private chat. I'll present if you want me to.
You'll
It's
present.
it's a
Oh, I
movement,
see.
and it's kind of like laissez-faire capitalism, I think, maybe.
Yeah, iFi, we're not putting up this 2 hour and 18 minute.
No, I'm
presentation.
just showing them
In our own
the
time.
title of it. I'm just showing them the title of it. That's all.
Okay.
I'm not saying we're gonna watch it right now.
All right,
Let's
class,
break it
buckle up.
down.
Well, you are
10-hour
correct.
stream.
So, anyways,
2 hours.
everyone's favorite host, Tim Pool, just recently hosted a discussion between the Libertarian Party and a Free State Project guy. They were all in the same room talking about everything you guys were just talking about. Like, why aren't we doing shit? Why aren't we getting organized? What's going on? And so that might be a fun little video for everyone to watch. But anyways, there it is. Watch it. The link's in the chat, I think. I don't know if...
As Tim Pool is sponsoring a NASCAR race car. Yep. Gotcha.
Okay, that's
Is he
all.
really?
Thank you, Base. I just wanted to show everyone,
Yep.
the
That's
video
pretty cool.
I'm
Yep.
referring to.
Well, I mean, Tim
You got-
Pool's theory is that politics is downstream from culture. What he's trying to do is he's trying to grab the culture by the balls. And
Can you put the link in chat for me, Base, please? In the
Wait,
comments?
he's trying to grab it by the what?
By the
I just
balls.
stopped watching. I just had
By
to
the
stop
balls?
watching Tim Pool during the whole like. I don't even know how it was for like a year straight. It was like every video that he came out with was like Civil War next. Are we in a civil war? Civil
Well,
War now.
Macho, has
Civil
that
War in
question
20
been
minutes.
answered? Has that question been answered yet? Like, are we still?
No, we're not.
We're
in
not
a
even
fucking
close.
Civil War.
Yeah, my
how
link,
convinced? How convinced of that are you?
my
Nacho?
link in
Uh,
private chat.
I mean,
it shows you.
if you want to
My
call
link
it, I
in
mean, if you
private-
want to call it that, maybe. I mean, we're in a culture war for sure.
Yeah, you're
You're in an information war. You're in a, you know what I mean? We're
Okay,
fighting
okay,
on the
let
battleground
me-
of ideas. for
Rocky's
sure, but-
Rocky's trying to say something, guys.
Go ahead,
I'm
Rocky.
talking
Rocky.
over him.
Your link didn't work for me.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm not
well,
seeing-
my
I'm not
link
seeing it.
in
Oh, there it is.
GS's
Oh,
explains how a nation is blessed by God. It's through association. If believers, the more Christians you have, the more your nation is blessed. The more Christians study the scriptures and
I see
become
it.
mature believers, the nation is blessed. That's a biblical principle that people are blessed through association with Christians. That's what made America great, is the association with the pilgrims and the Christians seeking the truth. And that's my view on how a nation. It's
The
not
truth.
dependent on the leaders. It's dependent on the people. Are the people moral? Are the people studying the scriptures to show themselves approved? And so if you become, it's called an invisible hero. Christians are invisible heroes, that we are the salt of the earth, the preservators of the earth. And the more people that believe in Christ and the more people that study the scriptures, the better our country will be.
Hey, Rocky.
Based.
Rocky, if everyone on panel agreed that we need to return back to a Christian nation, do you think we would agree on what sort of government we should share?
We are not a Christian nation. We are
Rocky, it's a theoretical question. It's a theoretical question. It's a theoretical question. If everyone in America right now agreed with you, Rocky, that we need to become a Christian nation again, do you think we would all agree on what form of government that would take shape?
The scriptures advises on what kind of government. It says it should be small. That's why tithes is a 10% tax for the state of Israel. It was a 10% tax. It was not a gift offering. So that's one principle. It should be small, 10% tax, period, over, flat tax. And then there's other principles that's what we incorporated into our Constitution. The right to that, those were incorporated in there.
For a second?
Yeah,
because
go.
you're wanting us to return to a Christian country, but literally the First Amendment is freedom of religion.
The Bible teaches separation of church and state. We are not a Christian nation. We are a nation full of Christians. There's a difference between being a state.
Never a Christian
you
nation.
won't let me talk, Sarah. I'm trying to answer your question. We are not a Christian nation. We are a nation full of Christians. We do not have one religion. People are free to their religion.
His whole take was that if you have more Christians in the nation, then
well, hold on. Let Sarah go. Okay. Let Sarah go after her.
You were talking about us needing to return to a Christian nation.
No, I didn't say that.
That was me, Sarah. You can blame me.
Okay, it doesn't matter. That's what I heard. But regardless, even if we become a Christian nation, that means you need to amend the First Amendment.
No, we don't.
The Bible teaches separation of church and state. Christians are not
supposed how do you
to force
on
people to be Christians
in our country without removing that.
Sarah, is it?
I think you're both saying. I think you're both saying the same thing, but kind of talking. Pat, I think you're probably agreeing more with each other. It sounds like.
Let me try to talk directly to Sarah. Hey, Sarah. Even with the freedom of religion, is one possible outcome that all citizens freely choose to become Christian, and it's still 100% a Christian nation. Is that one possible outcome?
It's very unlikely for us to be.
I didn't say if it was unlikely. I said, is it possible, Sarah? Yes or no?
Sure, anything's fucking possible.
Okay, that's the point. That was the point.
Is it realistic? No, absolutely not.
Fuck realism. We're on planet fantasy here. Let's just dream about shit.
Practical or possible.
A Christian nation is what we tried to get away from. It was called Catholicism, who pretended to be Christian. So the Pilgrims came over here to separate from a nation who called themselves the state.
To be fair, Rocky, we were also getting away from a Protestant state, religious state in Britain as well. But it's all bad. Yeah. Any state religion is bad, which I have argued from the beginning. It never works.
And that's a biblical principle. It's taught in the scriptures. There's only one. The kingdom of God is the only theist nation that I'm waiting on. That's the only one that's really good.
Facts.
Also, sorry to interject, Rocky, but before I forget, I just wanted to get Nacho's feedback on something he just said a minute ago. So we were talking about gulags and whether or not we're there yet. What are your thoughts? You're a Trump supporter, right?
Sure.
Not-
I'm a staunch Republican.
Oh,
so
okay,
I mean,
okay. So
it
how
honestly wouldn't even matter to some degry who they put
Nacho,
on.
I've never
Nacho,
voted
Nacho,
before.
serious question.
Sure.
How do you feel? How would you feel if in the next election your candidate is running from jail? Do you see any problem with our current system?
Yeah, I mean that's what I said. I'm not denying that there's a deep state. I'm not denying that there's corruption at the top. I don't think that corruption at the top that they're trying to install. It's like they've got this, hard drive or this thumb drive they've plugged in and they're trying to download it, but it's a lot slower than it appears. It has to creep all the way down to the state level. The way the founders designed the country was intentional. They didn't design it because they thought we're never going to have corruption ever again. No, they designed it knowing that corruption was inevitable and that
I agree.
the condensation of power all the way to the top was inevitable, basically back to monarchical standards. They knew that was inevitable, so they did everything they could to put roadblocks in the way.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
And they failed
To slow that
miserably.
down.
I agree.
No, they didn't. They actually have done a pretty good job.
You think?
All of those roadblocks have been very effective
It could
And
get
because
more
nobody can
corrupt
step into
than it is
office and
now?
just make sweeping changes overnight.
So you know
Well,
who we have.
I don't know about that.
I want to hear from Based. We haven't really heard from Based. What's your
Yeah,
thought?
haven't really heard from me too much.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
So I agreed with the last part of what you said. That was Nacho, right?
Yeah.
But the first part, as to it's slower than it looks, it's actually much faster than it looked. If I was Big Brother, I come snatch you the fuck up right now out of your house, your apartment, and nobody would ever see you again. Ever again. Unconstitutional as fuck, but I'll get around it. Don't worry.
Yeah, but there's still a trail. You know what I mean? There's still
Yeah,
it's still
yeah,
not
there's
to
a
the
trail
point,
to
it's
be
not
covered
the
up.
Point, sure, there's not. Yeah, I know. There's not, but it hasn't gotten to the point where, like you're talking about, the China Secret Services, where it's like they're going to do it so openly and abruptly that it doesn't matter. They're not going to come to your
we do it
businesses
too, through
and
our
weld your
laws.
doors shut on camera and then play that on the news feed for you to watch and say,
You mean
hey,
like the
this is
Patriot
what
Act?
happens when you fuck with the state.
Rendition.
Right, like the Patriot Act, like Rona, like all this other
Yeah,
bullshit in the
not
last
in
20 years
support of any of
alone.
those things.
No,
So,
I'm not saying that
I'm
you
not,
are.
I'm
what
not
I'm saying
just shilling
is,
for the state. I'm just my point
I
is
get
that
it. I get
it's
it.
not all hope is lost and everybody
I
just
agree
sit
with you
around
there.
and twiddle your thumbs until it all
Yeah.
falls apart and then
I
we
agree.
form Ancapistan. Like that's not what we should be doing. We should be involved and you should be trying to
So what
affect
should we
at
be
the very
doing,
least
Nacho?
your local level, your local state,
Right,
and
right.
your township,
So-
your county, and be there so that when shit does hit the fan, that your surrounding, that your counties, that your states are at least a little bit, set up better to survive this shit.
Okay, so
That sounds good.
So all right. So here's some practical.
I mean, it's better
advice.
than Fantasyland, and let's
Right.
wait till it all falls apart and form, socialist
I agree,
utopias.
but
All right,
that's
so-
not my position.
Here-
but I
here's
agree
some-
with you.
Here's some possible solutions. One
That was
possible
funny.
solution, something I've been thinking about for a while, is if you get a group of strong men, whether it be faith, whether it be martial arts, whatever the tie is that binds, that makes them a strong unit of cohesion. Military
Spartans.
service, veteran staff, the Spartans, whatever,
Spartans.
insert whatever you want to put in there, and you go and you approach you kind of vet, but you also approach your local sheriff. Okay, and you contact the local sheriff, and what you do is you establish a volunteer, if S hits the F, roster of immediate deputization.
Like militia.
Yeah, well, you can literally still form militias. You
Well,
still have state
right,
militias.
But what I'm saying though is if you've got that star on, you have the power of the federal government backing that, which is different than a militia, because right now if you form a militia, you are definitely in a bullseye. but that said, is so it does a couple of things. It lets your local police officers know that there will be a reckoning to anyone that does anything unconstitutional, unlawful, any kind of nonsensical rendition stuff that we are seeing going on. And to what Based was saying, they'll just come snatch you out of your house. And and the way today's goldfish memory thing is, and within 2 weeks, no one's going to think about you, American Nacho. I mean, who's thinking about the people in J6 right now languishing in jail for a misdemeanor?
Who's thinking about Ron Paul? Who's thinking about the Tea Party?
Right, but
Right.
I still don't see how that changes anything that I said.
Let's
Which is
address
to not
let's
sit
address
on your
the
hands, but
premise.
to actually do something.
Right. Let's address the premise that I put forward is to approach your local, especially your sheriff, start to establish a network of deputization should the need arise. Hey, this is the first 10 people I'm going to deputize. They know that they're
sure. That's still
sure.
doing something.
I want to
though.
make sure I understand you.
That's all my point is.
Are you
Flo was
saying?
talking.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm sorry, Joe. That's a direction that I could get behind, and I think it makes a lot of sense because, again, you have the backing of the federal government allegedly as a deputy or as under a sheriff. Go ahead,
So
Joe.
that's what you're saying. We talk to the deputy and tell him that he's going to be deputizing 10 of my friends.
No. What you do is you present yourself as a competent group of people, willing and able to stand in the gap should the wolf come to the door.
Okay, I'm
And
down
so
with
they
that. But you
vet
said backed by the government. How was that back?
Well, no.
That sound like
Well, because a sheriff, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
As opposed to a PD. Now, the PD, a lot of times you run into an issue that the PD works directly for the mayor, which ends up figuring out whatever their ideology. Say you're a leftist or a lefty and a liberal, and your mayor is a Republican, so that PD effectively works for a Republican mayor.
Right. I
and
get
will
you,
do the
sheriff
bidding.
is elected. How does he help us? How we
Well,
work
he's
for the
federal
government?
too, though. It's
Because
not
they
that
can
he's not just that
deputize
he's elected. He's a constitutional
citizens.
law enforcement, right? Constitutional. Somebody help me with that.
Something
Maybe
like
I'm
that.
way off
But I
base.
mean, again, it just falls in line with what I'm saying to some degree. I mean, I'm not opposed to that at all. I mean, that's my whole point is like get your house in order, and your house should be your local township and county first, city and county
Micro to
first,
macro.
and then your state.
And I don't disagree
do
with
what you
that.
can do to get that house in order,
Well-
because then to some degree it doesn't really matter. The system was set up so that the states should be able to survive things like this anyways.
Interesting that
Let's,
you bring up that phrase.
Flo,
because I was-
Flo,
go ahead,
hold
Joe.
on, I. Flo was talking to a gentleman one night from California who was anti-military, anti-gun, anti-this, anti-that. And he said it'd be a cold day in hell. And Flo pulled up the California state constitution, which said that they could pull up men between the ages of 16 and 45 to serve in the state militia,
Mhm.
regardless if they wanted to or not.
Conscription.
And this guy was flabbergasted. And most states do have that provision in their constitution.
Yeah,
Well,
and every
it's in the
state
main
still has
constitution.
every state still also has a state militia you can be involved with too.
It's
That's
well
true.
regulated, meaning
Yep.
regulated means well practiced. It doesn't mean
Doesn't-
regulated by the government.
I was about to say, isn't that exactly what it means? That I go out there with 20 of my friends, me, you, and Base. We've been practicing. You cats been in the military. 20 of us go somewhere. We're
Regulators.
not well-regulated militia. We're a target
Regulators.
like Kyle Wittenhouse or
But
fucking
let-
some armed group of
Joe.
brothers walking down the street.
Joe, led by who? Who's
Me.
following?
Well, the legal language is well regulated, but it's to the necessity, right? So it might not necessarily be well regulated, but the right to keep and bear arms is a right because that regulated militia is necessary to a free state. It's got nothing
No,
to do.
that's actually separated. It's not included, Brick. That's actually separated. The first part is a preamble.
So-
So I hear what you're saying, but I think you're a little bit off with that. But you're in.
I
you're in
wanted
the vein.
I wanted to respond to something that Nacho said, and I want to ask you based on your opinion. He said something about getting our houses in order, which is funny because I was just having a conversation with a YouTuber named Mr. Glenn Lawrence, and we were talking about how we have our houses in order and how we're doing our part to change the nation. Would you agree that we're making progress by doing it that way?
Would I agree that all of the macro changes start on the micro level? Yes.
Okay, so the fact that I have my house in order, personally, and Glenn Lawrence has his house in order.
No. Let's not strawman this, I-Fi. Let's be specific, because you claim to have your house in order.
Okay, prove me wrong.
No, I don't need to prove you right or wrong. I'm just saying the truth. The truth is that you say, well, my house is older, and Glenn says, well, my house is older, that I'm now supposed to accept that as fact.
Right. Anybody can say that.
So what you're saying is you're not so convinced that we're making significant change in the culture war?
No. I'm not convinced at all, but that's irrelevant. If you know the truth that you, in fact, do have your house in order and you're doing the right things for the right reasons, then it doesn't fucking matter what I think.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, the truth is interesting.
And any other opinions? There's base.
Yeah, fuck you. That's my next opinion.
Well, I don't even know what's happening, bro.
So Nacho, would you say
We're good.
one
We're
of
good.
us on panel, if we claim that our house is in order, that's somehow influencing or changing the culture war and or even up to a political level? Is that what you were getting at?
No, I don't think that I think all of this shit is entertainment. I don't think any of this shit is,
interesting.
I mean, I think adding in the culture and the politics and the debate and stuff, I think is healthy for the culture and politics, because like it's all downstream. Like you see somebody with your idea walk onto a stage with an Andrew or some other big like conservative or at least right leaning or whatever, and they walk on stage with their socialism and their communism, and they just get absolutely destroyed, and then you cope for a week, and then you start to look up and try to figure out why, and then you maybe change your mind. I mean, some of the people are just going to dig in hard, but ultimately I think it's all entertainment.
Speaking of the devil, are you familiar with the debate that Andrew Wilson had with Jacob Winograd?
I don't think so, no.
And before you get into that, I-Fi, before you get into that, I want to... what was that?
No, he goes on so many tangents and doesn't breathe that I lose every comment.
You are right, Sarah. You are correct. I'm going to bring it back now. So with that said, I want to thank everyone for...
They say the truth is dangerous. They try to keep it concealed. I'm a voice for the people, dissecting investments of your ego, exposing the shields, uncovering the schemes. Knowledge is power, corruption of education is a theme. Baseball, here to save